I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is Change Your Energy, Change Your Life, which is a quote from Joe Dispenza, who is an awesome force of change in the world right now. Really powerful meditations for transformation. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine brilliant, bright light. We'll switch it up today. Brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your organs, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream. And again, nourishing all your organs, all your cells, and bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, any remaining stress, fatigue, negativity. And now let's just gently press our palms together. Softly, softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, to these remarkable physical forms through which we experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Robin. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you guys here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. And so today's topic is change your energy and change your life. And as I said, this is a quote from Joe Dispenza. If we perceive ourselves, if we believe ourselves to be energy beings, like that's the truth of the matter, which I do, energetic beings at the foundation, then we can recognize that our frequency, the energy that we emanate or that we vibrate with, is impacting our experience of life, right? Like the opportunities that arise for us, the interactions we have, the way people respond to us, the way circumstances arise in our life. These things, we have a frequency, or maybe a spectrum of frequencies that we emit or emanate, or that we vibrate within. And so I think it's really, really interesting, because if we can consider, good morning, Jennifer, so good to have you joining us. And if we think of lipstick, if we think of the patterns of our lives, we can consider that there may be an underlying energetic frequency or pattern that is perpetuating the patterns in our lives. And so here, I think this is a really interesting example. I had a friend who grew up with parents who were alcoholic. And as a result, she was very vigilant about making sure that she didn't I don't know if I want to say associate, but like that in her romantic involvements, she was super, super hyper sensitive to the possibility that someone might have a problem with alcohol or addiction. And let's see, Rosalind says, in science, energy is a measurement in units. It's potential or kinetic. I love that idea of kinetic, given that we are in motion. We are energy in motion. That's what emotion is, right? Energy in motion as well. Good morning, Bernadette. Great to have you here with us. We're talking about change your energy and change your life. So I was talking about this friend who was really vigilant about, hypersensitized to people who might be experiencing or who might have issues with addiction or alcoholism, or like that this was really a big part of her awareness, right? And so she ended up marrying somebody who seemed really healthy, who seemed balanced and whatever. And after some time passed in their relationship, her partner became addicted to cocaine. And it was very interesting, because here, look what, I mean, for all surface appearance, she did all her due diligence. She was vigilant, and for all of that effort and attention, she still ended up with somebody who had the very problems that she was trying to avoid. And I think we get to look at what is it that can cause something like that. What is it that can cause that perpetuation of issue when we've taken every precaution, right? Like what is it that's happening that allows for that? And what I think is that when we're in a family, there's we can almost, and this is again hypothetical, I don't I'm not a physicist, and I'm not saying this is science-based, but this is based on my observation, and of course that's limited, so take it with a grain of salt, try it on, see if it works for you, and see if it makes sense. But that we're kind of in an energy vortex. So as human beings, there's this whole big energetic vortex that is human consciousness, perhaps, and then within our cultures, and then within our families. And what happens is that we are tuned to those frequencies, and we're not in any way conscious of it. It's just part of our beingness. And I think that it's first of all challenging to see those energetic patterns, or to become aware of those energetic patterns, because it's like a fish in water. They just are who they are, the lens through which we perceive the world. But also, I think it may make those patterns more difficult potentially to change, because they are so foundational. It's not that we can't change them, but they're foundational. So to be able to change them takes very specialized kind of work, I think. Bernadette says, I think when we focus on a specific thing and not see the whole picture, we miss the signs. Well, that's such a good point. The fact of the matter is that we don't even know we're not seeing the whole picture. Hello, Alexandra, welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about change your energy, change your life. So the question is, how do we change our energy? And there are all different levels at which we can change our energy. Let's say we have an underlying pattern of frequency or frequencies, or an underlying energetic signature. That's the one that's probably most challenging to change. Day to day, we have different energetic patterns. So we might be feeling depressed. Maybe depression is an energetic pattern that we have. And if that's the case, it's not like it goes boom and it goes away forever, because there's a lot of neural wiring to make that kind of a default. However, in the moment, one of the things that we can do is we can shift our energy by changing our physiology. Like, for example, you can just try smiling, try being miserable when you smile. It's really hard. It's really hard. You cannot be as miserable anyway when you're smiling. So I know I've told this story probably multiple times before, but I went through lots of depression in my life, like extreme depression. And I remember one time, knowing the things I know, knowing that if we change, that we have the ability to change our state. I remember being in the shower and just crying and singing, like trying to sing to shift my energy. So there's a multitude of things that we can do in the moment to shift our energy. And when we do that, we shift the way that the world responds to us. And we can think of this sort of as a tiered structure where the underlying energy signature is where we want to, and where we have the capacity to make the biggest shifts. And with so many things, the key to change starts with awareness, right? Like you can't address a problem that's invisible, or a challenge. You can't address something that you're not even conscious of. So how do we become conscious? I mean, we can be looking at these patterns in our lives, and I can tell you that for years and years and years, I saw these patterns in my life and felt very much at the effect of them, very much the victim of these patterns. Like, oh my gosh, here it is again. I've done all this work and nothing's changing. And I think that there are some technologies that we can utilize that really do have the capacity, the capability to be shifting those patterns in a long-term way. So Rosalind says, energy is expressed as emotion. That's true. And can be stuck in the body from trauma, 100%, 100%. So when you talk about this, about trauma anchors energy in the body. And our body is kind of like this amazing biocomputer that records everything that we've ever experienced. Ooh, excuse me, I think I just released something. Anyway, when we recognize that the body holds trauma, it's also holding patterns. And we can get to the end result from a bunch of different pathways. We can get to shifting these foundational patterns through the body, through body work. There's all kinds of really intense body work that people can do to release these things that are locked in the body. Things like rolfing, which is myofascial release of all these. I guess it's sort of tissue that starts binding the muscles to each other and to organs and to the bones. And as we get rid of that inner mesh that's holding certain things in place, we can have transformative kinds of release. Something like tapping if you go to Tapping Solutions, I think it's tappingsolutions.com, you can learn about tapping, and that can really make a difference for releasing long-held energetic patterns. Things like even acupuncture, acupressure can be shifting energy patterns. And the thing is that we can shift energy patterns by the way that we think. And you guys may have heard of reframing. Reframing is when we have a new perspective, a new vantage point, a new way of looking at a given situation, for example. And when we use these reframes, what happens is that if they're effective, it changes the way that we perceive and interpret something to such a degree that it changes our physiological response to that thing as well. Tapping helps us with it, but also technologies like neurolinguistic programming, super powerful. NLP, that's what NLP is. And that's where the idea of reframing comes from, is, what are different ways that we can interpret things? And so a lot of these things are shifting our energy at the surface, and yet there are these undercurrents, right? There are these persisting undercurrents of energy that, because they are undercurrents, because they're so deep-seated, we have commonly less conscious access to them, and therefore less ability to consciously influence those things. So the work that I have developed is called Core Connection. And it's super powerful because, oh, and by the way, also hypnosis can be really powerful. But the work that I developed called Core Connection is sort of an outgrowth of my training in NLP and hypnosis. But the thing that makes it so super powerful is the fact that it's guided by our own other than conscious intelligence. So it's not me as a practitioner directing the way that the exploration or the unfolding goes. It's really more guided by my client as they bring forward imagery that may or may not have any conscious relevance to their circumstance, but since it's generated from their other than conscious mind, it provides the solutions that only their own brilliant internal genius could access. Bonjour, Dennis. So good to have you here. As always, welcome. And Rubin says, learn from our experiences, apply the signs, listen to your gut, heart, whichever makes contact to your higher self. Exactly, Rubin. I think that you keyed in on it, that the foundation is listening, and the bottom line is getting beyond ourselves. So to circle back around to the quote that I titled this segment with, change your energy, change your life. And another way to do that is through meditation also, and a consistent practice. So for instance, with Joe Dispenza's meditations, what he's all about is going beyond our human experience, going beyond our identity. And as we extract ourselves from our identity and the things that we identify with, to become no thing, to become nobody, no one, no know where to access the vast nothingness of being, like the pregnant void is the way that Deepak Chopra used to talk about it, which I love, love, love. To access that, we can be shifting our energy by simply transcending it, by simply disidentifying with it, to go into another realm of beingness. And I think actually, yesterday I when I was listening to the Joe Dispenza meditation, afterward on YouTube, actually, there was another guy who was talking about a technology that he had developed where he's making request of the higher self to heal the other aspects of being, to create this change. And when I think about it, I think that's what I do in the core connection work. It's the same idea as accessing that inner genius that knows how to rework all this stuff. And so that might be worthy of your practice as well, is to say, whatever these foundational issues are, let me contact my highest self, to my highest self that knows how all of the puzzle pieces fit together, and allow that, or request that it heal and rearrange and redesign whatever the wiring is that has held this pattern in place, perhaps, accessing and requesting of that higher self that it do the work. And I invite you to give that a shake for yourself, see how that might work, to tune in and say, even though I might not know the full mechanics of this, even though I might not be aware of what the foundational issue is, perhaps, I'm making a request of my highest intelligence here to rewire it, to rework it, to calibrate it for the in service to my highest purpose. That might be a really useful technique to try and to make a practice if you do not have the advantage of working with somebody who can help shepherd you through those passages. So Robin says, yes, ma'am. Who is the person of meditation? Joe Dispenza. Dispenza. Joe Dispenza. He was in the movie What the Bleep, and he was a chiropractor and got involved in consciousness, and he runs these incredible retreats and is doing all kinds of medical validation of what actually happens for people through these meditations, like what's happening with brain waves and heart rate and blood pressure, and also tracking people's immunity and all kinds of wild, amazing things. So, and really gathering enough data to validate that we truly do have access to other dimensions of being and other ways of being, other realms. Yeah, seriously awesome, Robin. I invite you to check it out. I went to, when COVID was calming down a bit, I went to a retreat in Cancun, and there were, now I don't remember how many thousands of people were there. But not a one of them got sick. I mean, we all had to have a test before we got there. We had to have tests before we went back, and not a single positive COVID test in the bunch, which is pretty phenomenal, like a phenomenon, right? Anyway, so shifting our energy by necessity is going to shift our life. And the simplest experiment, and I know we've spoken about it before, is to just smile at people. When you smile at somebody, they tend to smile back. So what's happening? You've shifted your energy. It's getting transmitted. It's being fed back. Like that's how it works. So when we're down, when we're feeling at the effect of life, taking deliberate, active steps to shift our energy will shift at the very foundation. It'll shift our experience, personal experience. Smiles are contagious, Robin, 100%. So I have a client, so I'm going to hop off, but I am so privileged and appreciative of this time with you guys every morning. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern. Please check out all the awesome programming on the Enlightened World properties, EWN, One with the Earth, Enlightened World Living, Enlightened World Network. And again, it is such a privilege for me to be here with you. And I am very, very grateful. And I hope I see you again here real soon. So until next time, so much love.